Okay, Amber, you had a sound therapy session with Alison.
Yeah.
And you're zenned out is a different way to experience. How was it for you trying to do the podcast right after getting
well, initially, after we finished the sound bath, I was like, they're probably just going to have to do that without me. Just lay me in the corner.
I thought the same thing. You're just like,
yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yes, truly.
But doing it was really nice. I was genuinely interested and just very, I know this kind of vibe for myself that I'm in right now. I feel like it's rare, like I'll be peaceful, but this is like on a different level.
Can you put some words into what's different? I know it may be hard, but
yeah, I think that it's like, really peaceful on a body level. Maybe I'm peaceful in my mind a lot, but like when Alison put that like tuning fork on my chest, I was like, oh, the body feels so much, and it just really, it's like a deeper peace. Yeah,
well, you mentioned you were just like, I'm in my head a lot, and that helped you get into your body more.
Right, it connected them both.
Are you surprised that when you got connected into your body, you found peace there?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Am I surprised? I don't think I'm surprised.
Okay. Good.
But it is a cool feeling. Yeah, it's really interesting. And I love how I usually am. I think, it's like a ball of energy and light. And I feel grounded in that too. At the same time, this is a really nice, this is for me, all of this.
Yeah.
And not that other part of me isn't, but like, I like all of it.
Yeah. Well, you were mentioning too, I think it was before we got going, but how a lot of people, it can create pressure when you have felt like really calm around people and they automatically think something's wrong.
Yes.
And think you're sad or something. I don't know if we were recording when we talked about that, but that's something you mentioned and talked about.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm like, damn, I didn't know that my natural state.
Yeah.
And when that's different, makes people feel so worried or like it's so different because I still feel like myself, just like a different part of myself right now. I still feel like bright and fun and funny. And like, I still think of jokes, but I'm just in a different.
Yeah.
Zone.
What stood out to you the most about our conversation with her?
No.
Because I've been waiting for this for a long time because this is like one of my best friends. And I'm amazed by all the stuff she does. And I've received healing from it. My clients do all the time. So I've just been like ready for this so everybody else gets to hear about it too.
Yeah. Man, I would like to think on that. And what stood out the most? It's cool how scientific it is. I did not expect that.
Yeah.
I think it's really like I said, I'll put on like binaural beats and stuff, and I'll be like, this is helping, whether it's just like calming me down or whatever. But yeah, I think the science behind it, the fields of energy that we have, I didn't even ever think about that.
Yeah.
Past like, I don't like their vibe, or the vibe is really good in here, But like breaking that down and how it can be, oh my God, coherence over chaos, right? Yeah. Coherence.
Yeah.
That was so nice that coherence always wins. And that, our body, like, just the science behind a vibe. And that you can control may have a negative connotation, but like, control your vibe. Which is just, that's powerful. That's awesome.
Yeah. I feel like I've noticed with you, you have started, well, I won't say just started, but the more, when you talk about things, I pick up on, you're more aware of your experiences instead of just being in the experience and
1,000%.
Not feeling like you have any say so over anything. You notice
so much,
like
dude.
Aware in the moment. And I think the more healing that happens and the more you get used to your own energy and what that feels like, I always go back to traffic gets me really worked up, but I can feel really quickly when that energy of that feels chaotic, and I can quickly just be like, okay, reset And so you know when that kind of energy doesn't belong anymore. And I think the more you pick up on that, the more you've released of that.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't have a home with you anymore.
1,000%. Yeah. And I definitely attributed that to, therapy, growth, inner work for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was interesting when we were doing like when we were talking, my left shoulder and arm were in pain. I don't feel it right now, but I was like, I think she said that's like the mom side and loss and grief. And I'm like, oh, my mom, so that was interesting. Also something weird that came up towards the end when we were doing it. I was like, I hope she doesn't feel anything evil.
Oh,
isn't that interesting? And I just kind of got like wrapped up in that. I'm like, oh, I think it's because I know that she's in my energy. So I'm like, I hope this is a good experience for her.
Oh, you little people pleaser.
You noticed?
Yeah. your codependency showing.
Stop.
I'm just kidding. You are such a sweet person. And I hear that from clients too. And other people like always worried about, is this too heavy for you?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a human thing. It's a kindness thing. But yeah. But to think something's evil?
I know. I don't think I'm evil.
Where'd that come from?
Probably watching too many scary movies. Who knows? Like I don't know. I think, she was like, this is your dad's side, this is your mom's side, this is your ancestral. And I have a lot of thoughts and feelings around that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I hope it's not bad.
Yeah.
There's just like, it's a scary thing.
I know we all we have our generational stuff, and I know like you've talked about some like family stuff for you. You do have power in like there's good too. There's the saying of like we don't just inherit our trauma, we inherit our power. I
haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's like we don't. I forget the exact wording, but it's like we don't just inherit like our generational trauma being passed down. There's generational power from ancestors that gets passed down too.
Totally.
And I think you're tapping more into that. But
definitely
that other stuff's still there and something you're working through. So that makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
Could come up.
Totally. And there were good feelings around it too. Yeah. Like when that, I hope there's nothing evil. It did like come up as a big emotion, but it was able to be like, witness it as a thought.
Yeah.
More than just being like, oh, fuck, I'm evil.
Look,
Yeah. Thank
good
you.
Good job.
Thank you. My healing's showing. Makes my butt look good.
I'm going to start using that phrase. Your healing showing.
Oh,
that's so sweet. I love it.
That is so sweet.
You said it.
Now I'm feeling it. Thank you for inviting Alison and like setting this up. That was really nice.
Yeah.
And you listening, you're going to love it. Please go see, just check out, even just following Alison on Instagram is something, because she posts videos that are so, I've shared some, they're so wonderful. So make sure you follow her, check out our website.
She's going to blow up though, so you better hurry up and get in.
I know. And if you're not in Nashville, she's based in Nashville, but please, she does like virtual sessions too.
Oh yeah. Group sessions at 101.
Yeah.
All kinds of shit.
And after you hear this, I'm telling you, bro, I had a mini session and I was like, meow.
Can you imagine having a whole hour of that?
I'm going to do it.
Good.
I ain't even going to imagine it, girl. I'm going to live it. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening.
Enjoy. And I'm like, I'm not sad. I'm just.
You're like, this is just, I'm baseline right now.
I'm just chill.
Yeah.
But usually my baseline is like.
Is that where you can experience like pressure to be funny and be on a lot?
Yeah.
Because if you're ever not, people are like, what's wrong?
Yes. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. I didn't realize how you guys were experiencing me. Because I'm just like in a different, I get it though. Yeah. It's different, if I'm not cracking a lot of jokes or.
But you're multidimensional.
Yeah.
We're all multidimensional beings.
Definitely. Definitely. Dude, Alison, I'm so glad you're here. I want to tell people listening that I'm not sad. You just gave me a, what do you call it?
Just a mini biofield tuning session.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little like chair session that I did for you.
Yeah.
And Amber's really in the zone,
Mm-hmm.
zenned out.
Zenned out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you did it right before we came up here to record. So Amber's been really quiet, more than normal, to where we were kind of like, "Are you all right? Wake up!" And you're like, "I'm fine."
Yeah. It's really interesting. I didn't. Well, let's talk about first what you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have Alison Ausherman here.
Hi.
Hi.
So yeah, tell everybody what you do.
Okay. Well, I'm Alison Ausherman. I am a holistic occupational therapist and sound therapist. I have my own practice here in Nashville where I do craniosacral work and I also do biofield tuning. I like to talk about it like in the sense of I work on the nervous system on a physical level with the craniosacral work, and then also on an energetic level with the sound work. So my, I guess, like little elevator thing that I say to people to see if they're like interested in hearing more is that I use sound on and around the body to help the body find balance and help relax the nervous system. So
Yeah. How did you get into that? I've never heard anyone do that. I think are you the only one?
No, there's definitely other biofield tuners, but it's not as mainstream, but it's starting to catch on, which is really cool. Cause people are realizing that sound and vibration are actually really impactful to not only the physical body, but the emotional body, energetic body, spiritual body. So, but what I do, I guess I should probably start with what is occupational therapy, because I don't know if everybody that's listening would probably know what that is, or people have a different version of what it actually is. They think you work a lot with kids, which you can, but occupational therapy, the gist of it is we help people adapt either the environment or, adapt I call it like help people adapt their nervous systems so that they can function at a more harmonious or coherent level. I used a lot of sound terms there, so I'm going to rewind and go back. But if you think about traditional occupational therapy in the allopathic model, so the current medical model, a lot of what we do is helping people with their activities of daily living. So that would be like getting dressed in the morning, being able to function after you've had an accident. So say you had a stroke or sustained a brain injury or something like that, and maybe half of your body isn't working as well as it used to. So OTs would come in the hospital system. We help you get moving, help you start to learn how to use that side of your body to get dressed, do all the basic self-care things that we all take for granted. So OT in the hospital setting, that's kind of what we do. We also work with kids doing like sensory integration, work a lot with autism and, learning disorders and things like that. So there's OTs in the school system. There's OTs in mental health, because they found, I think it was like around World War II, that soldiers who were rehabbing did a lot better when they had something to do, like an occupation. So a lot of OTs do a lot of crafts. We like to be creative. We like to adapt the environment to help the individual be as independent as possible. Yeah. And so then I throw holistic in front of that. And people are like, okay, what do you do? A lot of times people would ask me like, or be like, oh no, I don't need a job. And I'm like, I'm aware of that. Like, you're 83. I'm not trying to find you a job. I'm just trying to help you get more independence back. And when I say holistic, what I'm doing is I'm coming at it from a more mindful and spiritual approach. So I'm looking at the nervous system in a different way than the traditional allopathic model. I'm looking at it from a more energetic perspective because we are energy, we are vibration. And so why not treat vibration with vibration, and we can find dis-ease in the body and help it find balance. So that's why I use the term holistic occupational therapist, because I help adapt their nervous system so that we can be more resilient and that we can find different ways to work through different life situations and stay more centered and grounded.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
How did you bring like the tuning forks and what we just did, the sound, into occupational therapy?
So it kind of actually happened on accident. I was gifted a singing bowl when I was in OT school, actually. And I had really severe anxiety, depression. Like it was really a tough time. And I just started playing it in the mornings and I was like, oh my gosh, I really like doing this. And then it became sort of my morning ritual. And I started just doing it for 5 minutes. And then over the years that like grew into me acquiring like crystal bowls. And then I had more Tibetan singing bowls. And then I just like started doing it. It was all for me, my own healing. And then, I realized that other people might like it too. And so I worked home health and I worked for this, great place that it was a neuro-based home health. So I was working with someone who had a spinal cord injury and they seemed open to it. And I was like, well, do you want me to bring my bowls next session? And so we did a session with the bowls and he was hooked. It was like, that was when he was able to find like mental peace and like the chatter would stop, the pain would decrease. We were able to get more done in our sessions. And it like got to the point where it's like his wife bought a bunch of bowls and like his son would come over and we would like kind of do a mini sound bath together for him like during our sessions. So that was really cool. And that just kind of happened on accident. And then when I was in the hospital setting, I really like tuning forks. I like just using them on myself. I did a sound healing certification course for a year when we lived abroad, and tuning forks it was like my jam. I'm like, these just cut through the static. You can hear so clearly, they're coherent tones. And so I would like bring it with me to the hospital in my pocket.
Wow.
I would like work with clients and I would help people who, had like COPD, which is they have issues with breathing. And in the hospital setting currently, they don't really teach you how to breathe, like belly breathe, diaphragmatic breathe, anything like that. So I would spend like 45 minutes in a patient's room and their whole family would be doing the breathing with us. It was like, we were all breathing together and it was really fun. And it was like some really profound, ripples came from that. And
how beautiful.
Yeah. And then, I always kind of had, I was like, oh, I'm going to do sound baths and I'm going to just try that. And after my training and we landed here, that's when I met Melanie. I don't know do you want to tell how
I was scrolling Instagram and I saw this beautiful hair come across the screen. I was like, she is gorgeous. And I'm like, what does she do? And then I saw sound therapy and I was like, what is that? And so I just messaged her and was like, what is sound therapy? Do you live here in Nashville? Because she had been in Germany. Yeah. And your website still had some Germany stuff. And she was like, yeah. And I didn't know this at the time, but they rented an Airbnb when they first got here to figure out like where they were going to live. And that's when, at that point, like brand new to Nashville. So I didn't know this until later.
Just landed. Yeah.
And then she offered to come do a sound bath for our therapists that work in our office so we could experience it. And I was like, sure, that's great. And then I just think I was really, really open to it, but I had like a Kundalini awakening in her sound bath. I didn't know what that was at the time. I don't know. I'm sure you knew what it was, but she just was like, do you want me to come hold your feet? I was like, yeah.
What was going on? What did that look like?
I don't know. I mean, Kundalini is like a big opening of energy, like that's supposedly at the base of your spine. And then there's Kundalini yoga and things like that people do to try to, it opens up all your channels, basically. I had no idea what any of that was, but after talking to people and reading about it later, but my body was shaking and releasing things. It was just interesting, very interesting. But she was like, they're never going to have me back here. And I was like, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was a little nervous because it was something I'd never experienced and I didn't know. I was like, I don't want to go be by myself. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I just thought I was going to have this like purging thing go on. So Leah came and hung out with me for the rest of the day. But then I was like, you got to come do this at our place. And so that's kind of how, like,
that's magic.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
So, and then got Leah into it. And now it's like, when we send our clients to her now.
Yeah, I'm so interested in the practice itself because when you put the fork like on me to begin with, I was like, holy shit, the body feels a lot. I didn't realize I'm in my head a lot. And I was like, whoa, the body can feel a lot. It was really interesting. And then like you were talking about how different sides of the body, like there's like an ancestral river that you're in, and then there's like the mom side, the dad. There's so much to this. Like,
there's a lot.
What is the history of sound healing? Like, where did this come from?
We're going to need another podcast for that.
Wait, can you tell about the sound hospitals?
The sound hospitals? Oh, yeah. I think in South America, they have these sound hospitals where they actually like will come in with bowls and different frequencies and help treat patients.
It's their main method of treatment.
Yeah.
But they've been there for years, centuries ago.
Wow.
They were some of the first hospitals.
Yeah.
She sent me an article on it and I was fascinated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and even like, you go back to Grecian times, like Pythagoras, he had healing centers and it was all vibrational healing.
Whoa.
Like all those temples were set up perfectly for acoustic. So like sound, if you want to really dive into it, I mean, you could really go into ancient Egypt and it's wild. But yeah, like it's sound is a really, really deep healing practice that my personal belief is that it's been forgotten and now we're remembering.
Oh, I love. Oh,
and so
it's interesting to see other people laughing and me just being like, I'm just so chill right now.
I love it. I like this.
I know, it's fun.
This side of you too.
Well, thank you. That's so. I love that. It's very interesting because a lot of people are like, when they're feeling a type of way, they'll put their favorite song on or they'll put their favorite music on.
Exactly.
And just thinking about comedy, I was in a show this past weekend, that pre-show they were playing like very much like Bon Iver and like yeah, but like comedy,
but not
show.
For comedy. You're right. I was like, I love Bon Iver, and then I'm like, oh,
but it's not getting people like hype,
Yeah.
And I think that affected subconsciously. They're like, whatever, music's playing, but like I don't know. I know that people use music to like heal, but there's a deeper side when you talk about what you do that I don't know.
No, but I just want to like talk a little bit more about what you were saying, because if you think about, not just like music on the radio, like, pump up music and stuff like that. Think about like movies and TV shows you watch. There's a backtrack to that. Like there's true. That, like if something's scary, like it.
Yeah.
If something's going to be happy, it because of the music. And so essentially, what I'm working with is just the bare bones of the music. So I'm working with just the tones, just the sounds, because the music that you hear has all those in it, but it's more of this like orchestra of it. Whereas when I come in with the tuning forks, it's that pure coherent tone.
Yeah. Something you said before that I really liked was it like, if you could describe it, but it was something like that sound, something wins over chaos.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Coherence.
Coherence.
Yeah. So, I should maybe talk about what biofield tuning is so that people
know. Definitely.
No, you're good. But I will come back to that. And if I don't, please let me.
Okay.
Please guide me that direction.
Even laughing, I bet, is some kind of like sound healing.
Oh my gosh.
Because everybody has a different laugh.
Yes.
And when people are like, oh, I like your laugh, it's probably like,
your sound is the most healing sound for your body. Like your voice is your most healing sound.
Oh, no, you're going to make me cry.
And so
that's so
just
sweet.
Humming to yourself all the time.
Yeah. Like it's seriously, it's so healing. And, like tuning forks, obviously I love them, but I've really started like having people, I did it a little bit today with you, do some like vocal toning and just tapping into that innate sound that we all like have within us. That's really, really healing. So
that's a lot. Cause so many people I feel like will be like, I can't listen to myself talk. I can't listen to my set, or I can't watch myself on TV.
Totally one of those people.
Really?
Yeah.
What? But you just said.
We don't hear ourselves like when we hear, because how I read random shit. I wanted to know why we don't like our voices. And there's something to like the way the frequency comes back when we hear it, like recorded, how it sounds different than how we hear it internally.
I could totally
and so
see that.
it feels
we're like,
very,
who the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels weird.
Well, it's like,
our voice is what we're these two. Anyway,
yeah.
sorry.
No. But just to like add on to that, like it's something that I've had to work on. You know, when I did a podcast a little bit ago, and it took me about a month to actually like listen to it. And it was like such medicine though to listen to it and just receive. And like, you know, we're not going to be perfect. And I think like I'm a recovering perfectionist, so it like still comes up.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's like, it's definitely one of those, like my initial knee jerk is like, and then I'm like, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Nobody gets out alive. Like, let's have fun while we're here.
Yes.
Not to be morbid. That was more to be just like, do what you love,
Just
do
facts.
what you want. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were going to tell us what biofield tuning
Okay,
is.
yes. So biofield tuning is a sound healing modality that you use tuning forks with on and around the body. And it functions under the premise that we all have this energetic field around us. Some people would call it an aura, others call it a biofield. I have a little visual aid here for anybody watching the video, but I'll describe it too for those who are listening. But essentially, it looks like a very fluffy bagel with like a really tiny like hole in the center. So it's a big circle with a hole in the center. And so this, if you want to visualize this in your head, it's like your head is at the very top of that hole in the bagel, and then your feet are at the very bottom. And so you have this energy that flows down through the crown of your head, spirals down through your center, goes through that central nervous system, your brain, spinal cord. If you want to think about our electrical system of the body, that's where it's going, and goes down and out your feet and then back out and around you. So it's this constant cycle of energy flowing down. Then there's also energy that flows up through your feet, and then out the crown of your head, like a whale spout, goes out and around you, and then back around and back up through your feet.
Whoa.
So you have this bi-directional flow of energy like this.
That's why grounding's so helpful too, to walk outside barefoot.
Oh yeah, because it really connects you to the earth. And so anything that has electricity running through it has this shape of an electromagnetic field around it. You know, the lights that are in here all have this shape around them. And we're electric. Something runs us. You know, we're not just chemicals and, you know, physical stuff. We're electricity as well. And so that's why we have the hypothesis that we have this field around us. And the really cool thing about the field is that it holds information from our lives. So, or lives. I mean, it could past lives too. I have worked in that, but current lives is within this probably like 5 to 6 foot range off of your body. And it acts like rings around a tree. So the very outer edge of the field holds information from birth, gestation, you know, kind of what was going on with your mom before you were born. That energy can be held out there. And then as we get closer to your physical body, we get closer to your current age. And so when life happens to us, you know, we have events. I mean, so we came down to Earth School and nobody gets out unscathed. So we all are carrying things in our field. And so whenever that happens, it's like a little blip in the record gets laid down. And I interact with it like it's kind of like a little chaotic pocket of energy. And I notice it in the sound and feeling of the tuning fork. And so the reason why I work with tuning forks is because they have a pure coherent tone. And we use them to tune instruments, tune choirs, and our body's an instrument. So essentially what we're doing is we're tuning the body. And as I bring that into the field, you start to notice little pockets of dissonance or chaotic energy. And you continue to bring that coherent sound, that pure tone of the tuning fork into that space. And every time that you do that, you start to entrain that chaotic energy to the more coherent, pure tone of the tuning fork. So it's kind of like coherence always wins out over chaos. That's just a law of nature. You know, our bodies always want to find harmony. That's what they're trying to do. That's why they're talking to us in different ways. They're trying to help us find this harmonic space. And so that's what the tuning fork does. And it helps that energy unwind And then it helps guide it back to that center, to your, central channel is what I call it, but like your nervous system, your body, and get that back into flow. Because this energy is just like hanging out here and it just gets stuck. Especially if we don't work through an emotion or even have the tools to do so. I work a lot in like birth, gestation, that period in early childhood, because we don't really have the tools to, necessarily work through big things that happen there. They just get laid down in the field and become these programs or these lenses that we look at the world through. And so another way to kind of view these little pockets of energy would be like little anchors that all have ties to your current life.
Yeah.
And we're not going in there and erasing, these things that happen. They're part of your journey. What we're doing is we're just untying the tether to those anchors so that so that we can not feel so weighed down, and just kind of lifts the lens of your life, of your existence.
Badass.
And if you hear the overlay of like how she's talking about that's trauma processing.
Yes.
Like when we are using brain spot, like it's another tool to help your nervous system release the hold your past has on it.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, if you're coming to work with me, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to suggest that you also work with Alison, especially people coming in and do intensives. They'll do brain spotting session, sound session, then ketamine or brain spotting. And we're doing it multiple days in a row.
Right.
And it's just kind of unfolding, letting layers kind of fall off.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me. I like, so I'm trying to figure out the science of it.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of it.
It's okay. It's all right.
But there's like energy that, how does the event or like things that happen in your birth get caught in the energy field? Does that make sense?
Yeah. How does it like get laid down? Yeah. And so how I like to think about it is like, we're all emitting these vibes. Like if you want to think about it on the 2D version, of sound, it's just those waves going out. So we're all emitting these vibes. And so, okay, something big happens, car accident when we were 8 years old. Whoa, that totally jars that rhythm, that frequency that you're emitting. And so it kind of tangles it up if you think about it that way.
Yes.
And especially if it's something that, you might not have processed through, you might not have, physically processed through. And I know you've talked about it on the podcast, but it's like, we don't shake after something traumatic happens, and just how therapeutic just shaking it off can be. But yeah, so then it will get stuck, because I like to think of emotion as energy in motion, emotion. And so if we don't allow that emotion to work its way through, if we don't allow the wave to, crest and then fall back, if we stop it here because it's uncomfortable, that's when it gets stuck, because it's not getting into that flow.
Yeah, I get that. So like, kind of like, if someone brings something up and you're still like, like a past thing. Yeah, totally. And it's also too like, we with the energy field around us, like we're all emitting these vibes. And so then when you like meet somebody and you're like, ooh, I don't like, there's a little like dissonance there. It's because your vibe's not matching, not resonating. That doesn't mean that person's a bad person. No.
It just means it's not resonating.
That's just so interesting, because I feel like people all get that, but we don't dig into any kind of like reasoning or science, or
we just think that's the way we are.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And there's nothing, wrong with it. And it's also like that sense we all can tell like the vibe of a room. We've all had those moments where we're like, oh, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And it's whether you listen to them or not, but that's energy. That's your vibe going out there and feeling the room. It's another sense, if you want to think about it like that.
And is that what you're feeling when you're doing this work? When like you feel stuck, what does that feel like when you know that something, you've hit like a point in that person's past or like a stuck space?
So the fork actually stops.
What?
Like,
it's like, sorry.
No, she gets. I know Melanie gets excited about it, but Yeah, like it'll stop. Like I
It's
won't.
like-
I mean, I could obviously like I can go over it if I want to, but if I'm really listening to the fork, like it stops,
That's wild.
and then it'll change.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You see why I'm talk about this all the time? It's
Yeah. So cool. You were going to say it'll change.
Yeah. So like I can listen to, so I feel stuff more, like I'll feel things in my body. And that's how I interact with the energy. There's other practitioners, they can see things, they have different senses, but I tend to feel it very like viscerally. So when I'm in the field and I'm like feeling into a spot, because I'm like, okay, well, I kind of have a conversation with it in my head. Like, okay, well, what do you need? Just like what, do we need a different frequency? Do we need a different fork? Do I need to go to the body? And so I just kind of will feel into it, and you can hear the tone changes. So when I use the unweighted forks or the audible ones, you can actually hear like the high pitch
pop really loud.
It will.
It hurts my head.
It'll like,
but when something's like releasing,
yeah,
it'll have a normal tone. And I just keep waiting for that high click because I know, my body's releasing it now. But it's like this high, like really loud like, pitch. Bing! Yeah, like pops, it just like almost
goes off the fork, and it's just this really bright tone.
That's when it's like cleared that messy part.
Yeah. And also it'll start to move. But yeah, like you can hear the different tones, like sadness, like and depression. Like if something's sad, it's like the fork's like, ooh, like it just has a really low like undertone coming from it. Like anybody could hear, like you and I can listen to a song and go, that's a sad song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not anything that it's like, oh, I've had this intensive training. Like I have a history with music or anything like that. I mean, I love music, but I'm not like a classically trained musician.
Right.
I took piano when I was like 8.
There it is.
There it is. My piano teacher would be so proud.
But you were saying other practitioners like see stuff or you feel things. I mean, that's a gift.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm sure that's something you can...
I think, yes, she definitely is gifted.
Yes.
But I love, like, I think a lot of good practitioners, and Alison's one of these, they'll tell you have the ability to do all that too. Mm-hmm. It's just she's really honed in on picking up on it. But we can start to learn our own energy and how, I don't know, when I'm around certain people, I can tell as soon as my energy starts to feel pulled on or drained. So you can start to learn like what energy feels like. Yeah. Because it's everywhere, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's just really skilled at at learning that.
Well, I mean, I've been doing it
working with it. Yeah.
But it's totally like a lot of the work that I do, I don't like to look at it as like, oh, I'm just cleaning up your field. I'm doing these things for you, because I'm literally not. Like if you really look at a bird's eye view of this, I'm just playing tuning forks around you and asking you to breathe, because you're the one that's doing the work. Your body's the one that's hearing that tone and shifting. So I like to use this metaphor, I think I have the right one, of when our body hears that tone, it's like a mirror. It's a mirror for the energy body to listen to itself. And so if you think about, you haven't looked in a mirror for a few hours, and you look in the mirror and you've got a poppy seed in your teeth. What's your first thing you're going to do? You're going to take that poppy seed out. Yeah. Because you're going to groom yourself. The energy body does the same thing. When it hears like something that just sounds off, sounds funky, it's like, oh, I've got to fix that. And so then we just work with the energy body and the tuning fork in that space until it starts to fix itself.
Wow.
I love that metaphor. And it's like, if we've heard of neurofeedback, like it's like where you put sensors and stuff on your head, and then it's like think of just the biofeedback. It's kind of like your body responds. And so if it's with neurofeedback, you can either listen to tones or you can watch TV and it'll darken the screen and then lighten it up. And so it's your brain's responding because it wants it to be bright so it can see and watch what it's looking at. And so that's how it retrains your brain. That's what neurofeedback is basically. So when you're saying that, I was like, it's the same thing. Your body has this natural to be at homeostasis. And so when it hears a tone like that, I've never heard you say that
That's
before.
really interesting.
I have more ammunition to talk about this with. But yeah, it's that natural, like we're trying to get in rhythm, like our body's trying to heal.
Yeah.
And so
It's really good.
that's a good one.
Yeah. Do you ever have people come, like, I'm interested about the rings having labels,
Okay.
you know, like the mom side, the dad side.
Oh, yeah.
You know, ancestral river. That's just like, that's
Oh,
all
yeah.
new information.
Yeah, I can go a little bit into that.
Yeah,
if you would like.
I would love that. And I want to ask too, this may be two separate things, but when you're in like the dad side, like I'll just say when you were in my dad and mom side, I had stuff in my brain about my family where I'm like, is this coming up? You know, a lot of emotions, a lot of like, you know, do you ever get a message of like, this is what happened? Or do you hear from the other side or any stuff like that? I don't know. Some people might, you know, so I'm just wondering if you ever get like a message like you're dealing with this from your dad's side or, you know.
I sometimes will. And then it just depends on, like, I'll have a conversation with that person's like higher self.
Oh, wow.
And just see like, is this something I should share? Because it's not necessarily integral to my process to know what energy I'm dealing with, because all I'm doing is bouncing sound off of it and making it more harmonious. So
that's kind of you to stay out of people's business like that. I mean, that's really nice to just be like, that's a big thing.
Well, and it's, you know, and while it's interesting to know people's stories, it's not like we need to know it. It's just allowing the body to go, oh yeah, that happened. So I always let people know, I'm like, you can, if you feel comfortable to vocalize what's going on, please feel free to do so. However, if you're an internal processor, you can simply like, because if I get in a really stuck spot, I will ask, you know, hey, we're at age 8, you know, in the area, and I'll go into this, of like sadness, grief, loss, and depression. This is, you know, the space that we're in right now. Is there something that comes to mind? And they can simply say yes, no, I don't know, or they can dialogue about it. But I don't ever force it, because it's not my story to tell. So I'm just holding space if people want to process. So I have people who like, they don't say anything. And I remember when that first happened, and then they kept coming back, and I was like, okay, well, we're doing something.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so I'll talk a little bit on the second part or maybe it was the first part of your question, but about the field, because I didn't touch on that, was that we actually hold certain emotions and energies in certain areas of our field. It's kind of like mapped out. Like if you think about your heart and lungs are essentially in the same spot as like my heart and lungs, given a little nuance, right? So it's the same that they found with energy in the field. So for instance,
so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. For instance, sadness, grief, loss, and depression hang out over that left shoulder. And then you've got overdoing, overthinking, over busyness hangs out over that right hip. I mean, I could go through the whole list, but you could look it up online too. But it's really fascinating because that's sort of the lens that will be working through the field under. So I will, you know, I'll come to the body and figure out, okay, which area to focus on. And that's where we'll go. And so I'll let them know, okay, we're working in, you know, overthinking, overdoing, over busyness. And so, yeah, that's another cool thing. And
that's so cool.
Oh, what was it? The mother and father side. Yeah. So the father side is your right side and the mother side is your left side. And so if you think about the emotions, if you want to sort of categorize them, the more yang or more masculine type emotions hang out on the right, the more yin or more feminine type emotions hang out on the left. And you have these really cool areas that are about 10 inches on either side of your body called the ancestral river. And that's where information is stored that's there from your ancestors. The beautiful thing about this river as well as it goes all the way down. So if you have any offspring or you have any kids, they get a tune up when you tune into this space too. So it's a really powerful space to work in. I find it really fun. That's when like sometimes I'll pick up on a little bit more like family themes stuff that's going on. And so Yeah.
That's so cool. Who discovered this?
So this lady,
It's a girl.
yes.
Yay! Women's History Month.
Yes. Eileen Day McCusick. So she started working with tuning forks, I think, in the 1990s.
The 90s?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Keep going.
90s were wild.
They were the best.
It was the
but yeah, so she started working with tuning forks in the 90s and just kind of stumbled onto it. She was a massage therapist and just kind of stumbled onto it, started working with pain initially and noticed that pain was starting to get, starting to clear up for people if she started playing the tuning forks. Say you came in with, your right shoulder was really bothering you. Well, we play the tuning fork by it, and initially it's going to resonate with the energy coming off that shoulder. So it's it has this really high pitched kind of intense tone. And then as you continue to play the tuning fork by it, it starts to even out. It starts to become more harmonious.
Wow.
And so that's kind of, I think, how she started. And then it just went from there. And now she teaches classes, I think, all over the world. There's a biofield tuning practitioner website where you can work with people in person or online. I also do online sessions too. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting that's interesting on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how did how
it's quantum physics, baby.
Oh yeah.
I love it. My brain's all the time.
Was she the one to discover or name the mom dad side ancestral river?
She mapped the biofield. But she also did a lot of research in the esoteric realm. So if you look at other modalities like Chinese medicine and stuff, there's a yin and a yang side, and so it's very similar to a lot of other schools of thought in that realm. Yeah, so it really, the reason why this modality spoke to me is I had kind of studied all different types of sound. I'd taken different sound healing courses, and this just took it all and put it in a beautiful, palatable, sequence. And it was with tuning forks. And I was like, well, this just makes sense. So, because it's way easier to, bring around. I'm not able to bring all my singing bowls and stuff with me every day. So the tuning forks are portable. They're easy to use. Anybody can use them. But yeah, so she does courses online and in person.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you integrate after a sound
session?
Yeah.
Grounding. Yeah, grounding. And if you know me, I always tell everybody to take an Epsom salt bath
and drink water.
And drink lots of water.
Facts.
Yeah, facts. Yeah. Drink lots of water. You're over there I'm gonna drink it. Yeah, drink lots of water in an Epsom salt bath. It just helps the body to mitigate any detox. And I can talk a little bit about detox because people are like, why would you detox from this? So if you think about every cell in your body has its own vibrational frequency. Your liver cell vibrates differently than your heart cell. That's why they're different. And when you bring that coherent sound of the tuning fork, they start to entrain to that sound of the tuning fork. So they get closer together and they can speak a little easier. And so if they're holding on to any toxins or holding on to any bits of information they just want to let go, they can, and it's a little easier. And so that's why drinking lots of water is really important. Anytime you're doing any type of energy work, drinking lots and lots of water. But Epsom salt baths, it's I fix everything.
Why? Because it just calms you down?
It calms you down, and then also the Epsom salt helps pull out any toxins.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
It just helps ground too. So sea salt bath, Epsom salt, any type of salt.
Okay. I know, Melanie, you've said that in the past you were you don't really do traditional therapy anymore. You do sound healing as your therapy.
Yeah. I have other practices and stuff, but going to a practitioner, it's more her.
What does that look like? I just had a mini one, but I'm already
well,
more,
there's times If we haven't gotten to hang out in a while, I'm talking. Yeah. There's more talking involved while she's just doing the tuning forks, and I just feel relaxed. But there's times when
talking about what's going on in your body or just life in general.
Life.
Oh, okay.
While she's just working on me, and it's more for I just know my nervous system is getting regulated, and it knows how to do what it needs to do without my front brain being online. So
Got
I
you.
talk. But there's times where I've had what feels like very psychedelic type experiences with her and feeling like I feel like I have more of awareness. It just feels like really deep meditation for me. There's times when we first started working together, she's combing field and having some memories and stuff. That very first thing that happened was childhood stuff came up. I had an image of a little music box that I had not thought of in years, and then it found its way to me within the month. It was so crazy.
Wow. The music box?
From childhood. Yeah.
There's some wild stuff that happens with this.
Yes. Yeah. And so I also realized this is what kind of really made me, I mean, I knew it front brain, but that we carry our clients' stuff, secondary trauma with us, because I also started having memories of my clients' stuff come up.
What?
While I was just releasing some of that stuff. But, I mean, it gets to the point where I feel like one of the last deeper ones I had was just, grief stuff comes up, but also from my understanding that I'm a spiritual being in a human body, and that I have beyond me a spiritual, and I felt like I was connecting more to that. And I was feeling a lot of grief about having to be human and like live in a human body and experience all the grief and sadness and anxiety and things that I do as a human, to where it feels better just to be. And I've gone through a phase where I'm like, I wish I could just meditate all day every day, because it just feels better to be connected to something else like that versus living a human existence. And so just different aspects of that, when I'm really sinking deep into things, gets to come up like that.
I love that.
Well, I just want to, this just came to me just to mention about that, like, emotions and all of these things that we feel are the human experience. And it's overwhelming because it can be so much easier to be like, well, I want to be up in the ethers.
Yes.
And what this work does is it helps bring a more centered, coherent, grounded way of working with those emotions, because it is a privilege to be able to feel all of these things, and as hard and tough and beautiful and amazing as they are, like it's a gift if you choose to think of it that way.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what in that last session I was talking about, that it was kind of like me kind of coming to terms with like, this is a human experience, and I feel lucky to have one, to get to have this body that, sometimes I'm very angry at because it will get sick. But so it lets me just kind of work out and let that kind of stuff come up.
Yeah, I can
see. There's times where I feel like, I'm receiving information outside of me that I just wouldn't be able to access if I just was talking to someone in my front brain. Like there's information and wisdom in here that gets to come up because I don't know, it lets you put all that static aside, at least for me when I'm doing that kind of stuff.
I like that you bring up static, because that's what it's static. I'm just helping like calm the static in the signal. Like we're just making it, you're tuning a radio station. Like you just want it to be bright and like on point, and you can hear everything. Yeah, that's essentially.
Yeah. And I'm a real somatic processor too. So doing therapies like that versus talking is more helpful to me in processing. And so I wanted you to kind of talk a little bit around how you have some special training stuff, and you work also with like different organs in the body and the physical ailments of the body. Because she's done adrenal protocols on me. And just when I don't feel good or I've had migraines and things like that, like she can pinpoint, because it's all the same. It's all energy, whether it's emotional, because we've been talking more about how the emotional part is like helpful in this, but the physical too. If you want to speak to that at all.
Yeah. So like, I'm trying to think of where to start with that. I'm also trying to remember your question.
Sorry. No, how you can work on like the physical body. It's not just the emotional, energetic.
Yeah,
it's also physical.
Yeah,
and that's what I like because we've got the like spiritual body, the emotional body, the mental body, and the physical body, and I feel like this gets at all of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So even I may not have a lot of emotion stuff I would need to go to therapy for to work through, but my body, that's one thing that draws me into like, okay, I need to do a session.
Yeah.
Is when it's a lot of the physical stuff going on because I'm a somatic processor, and I'm of the belief
which means
that
what?
I'm gonna feel somatic, meaning feel it. So I'm gonna feel something physical in my body as an emotional response, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so. And I think that when we talk about mind body, that's what that is. It's all it experiences it in all these ways together,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so when I have a migraine, I feel like there's also like anything physical. There's a biological, but also like an emotional, psychological component to it.
Yeah.
And this helps address. Like I don't have to know what it is, but if I trust enough to let my body just like, because I know you've said like your body really accepted the healing. You know, it's like it was open and doing its work, even though I'm telling her we're catching up because we haven't seen each other in a few weeks or something.
Yeah.
Like my body still knows how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So like, like the organs are fun. They'll kind of like, there's ones that are louder than others. Yes. Yeah. So like the adrenals sit right on top of your kidneys. And your kidneys are shaped like beans and they're in the back. I'm just trying to give people a visual. But they're these little, I call them little party hats. They just sit right on top of the kidneys. But they're really loud. They're the main source of like cortisol. So when we're in this sympathetic nervous system is activated, the adrenals are activated. And so I do this protocol called an adrenal rhythm reset. And so what I'm doing is I'm combing in the field with the intention of focusing just on the adrenals and allowing the adrenals to reset the rhythm. So it's just allowing them to hear themselves first and for them to go like, whoa, okay, do I really want to like continue at that frequency? And so the series is a series of 3 and I do them a week apart to allow the body some time to integrate. But it's kind of like, you know, if your adrenals are functioning at like this upper level, this upper echelon, they're just always on. What we're doing is we're going to like take it down a little bit and then the next session takes it down a little bit and then the next session takes it down a little bit. So we're resetting that baseline. And you might not even know that your adrenals are like functioning at this insanely high level. You know, a lot of stuff comes from our birth stories that a lot of us don't really know a lot. It depends on how, you know, your parents talked about it or if they were of the generation where they're like, it was fine. You're here.
Yeah.
Which is, I am. But, you know, there's stuff that happens. It's a trauma, you know, entering this world is a trauma. It is.
True.
And so your rhythm might have been set then and it might be pretty high. And so then throughout your life, you might have had this just like burnout feeling, this kind of anxiety that's coming through. And so I do that protocol. And then sometimes when I'm working in the solar plexus area, the liver gets really loud. The liver holds a lot of anger. And so I'll, you know, notice that. And sometimes I'll work on that as we get closer. Because all the organs have their own biofield, if you want to think about it that way.
Yeah.
And so as I'm like combing through your general biofield, I'm also bumping into those biofields as well.
Wow.
And so sometimes when I'm just combing, it'll be like, oh no, this is liver. Like it's just the tonal change and it just feels different. And then I'll just kind of check in like, what is this? And it's like liver. Okay. So then we spend some time.
You know the sound that a liver makes?
No, not necessarily, but it'll feel different. Like, you know, it's like, you know, we're going through and I'm getting a sense of like your field, your energy. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is different. This is thicker.
Wow.
There's a different feel to it. I wouldn't say like, oh yes, I know what a liver sounds like. I'd probably have a lot of money if I did. Especially in Nashville.
hilarious.
So, but yeah, so that's the neat thing is that I can work with the energetics with the sound, but also I do craniosacral work. So I can also come to the body and allow the body to unwind in a physical way, kind of working with the fascia and the energy on that level. So a lot of my sessions have been tending to be a bit more of this hybrid, because I'll just kind of be like, I need to go to the body.
Yeah.
And, is it all right if I hold your kidney? Like,
that's so nice. And what does craniosacral mean?
Yeah, so craniosacral is a really gentle modality that was developed, I think, in the 1970s. And what it does is it works on the membrane system of your central spinal cord in your brain. So your brain and spinal cord are encased in this membrane. And then there's cerebrospinal fluid, or this nourishing fluid that is just bathed. It bathes your brain and your spinal cord. It just provides nutrients and everything. And what they found is that there's a specific rhythm to the cerebrospinal fluid that's different than your heartbeat, and it's different than your respiratory rate. And it's about 6 seconds out, 6 seconds in. And what I do is I tap into that rhythm, and based on that, I can tell, okay, we've got some areas where there's energy or some unwinding that the body needs to do. It goes into the whole body keeps the score type thing. The somato-emotional release type thing. And so I will go to the body and work with different areas. The reason why it's called craniosacral is because if you're working on the membranes, the only way to really access the spinal cord or the central nervous system is through either the cranium or the sacrum.
Wow.
Which sacrum is it's like the tailbone of your spinal cord, because you can't really access the membranes in the spinal cord because it's covered with the spine, and so they don't move as easy as the cranium or the sacrum do. So that's why it's called that. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And you'll find that like people have different, if you've got like TMJ or jaw pain, a lot of times there's a relationship to the sacrum.
Really?
So like if the sacrum's kind of off a little bit, or maybe there's some adhesions there, like maybe you fell on your butt and, busted your tailbone, type things like that. I'll pick it up there and we'll kind of work with it to help it unwind. That's essentially what it is. It's just holding space for the body to unwind, really, to adapt. Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of long-term, say somebody that example, did they come like with a lot of sessions with you? Do they come back with like, can they maintain less jaw pain? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and it all depends too on what you do after the session, because it's like, I'm with you for an hour.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, if you keep doing the same repetitive movements, well, then you're going to have to keep coming back. But the goal of my work is to like see people less and less, because I want people's nervous systems to stay resilient and their energy to be flowing, and they can modulate that themselves. But a lot of times you just need a little practice and maybe some, guidance. But really, like, the goal is for me to see you less and less. Like, I have clients, they'll sometimes start out, once a week I see them for like 6 weeks. And then after that, we start to go to like every other week, and then it'll be once a month. And then it'll be whenever they feel they need to tune up, because they're able to tell, it's like Melanie was saying, they're able to notice like, oh, I'm feeling really like stuck in this like state, and it's not leaving. Because it is natural to bring your energy in and expand your energy out. That's the contraction expansion of life. And so, there are times when we naturally, like when we sleep, we tuck our energies in, and then, you think like sleep tight, sleep tight. You think, wide awake. That's when we bring our energies out. And so, and then also the natural rhythm of like, you're going through grief, you're going to feel more contracted, you're going through something tough. And then all of a sudden, things are good and things are brighter, and like, oh, all these things are happening. And then it's really expansive, but there's this contraction expansion, and that's life. That's how you get propelled through life. And so, not feeling like those think we look at it from a 2-dimensional model of like, I'm dipping down the hill and then I'm coming back up and I'm dipping down and I keep going down and I don't want to do that anymore. And it's like, you're not going down, you're just going within. And then you're expanding out when you're ready. And so it's, I
love that.
That's how I like to think about it.
Can I add a little thing to that that came up while you were talking? Is if you've noticed, I've done this too. Places like the coffee shop down the street, I go like all the time. And there's been times where I've walked in and been like, did y'all just get new lighting here? They're like, no, it's been here the whole time. Clients will come into my office and be like, has that plant always been there? Has that picture always been there? And I'm like, yeah. And they've never noticed it because that in your peripheral vision, there's a lot that's held in peripheral vision, like emotional stuff. And you're walking, you're looking at the ground when you're walking, or you just keep right here because you're staying drawn in. And the more releasing that happens, the more like your peripheral and everything like opens up. And that's why you'll start seeing things you never saw before that were always there, like visually in the room. So you start to like walk and you're scanning the trees and what you're seeing versus walk. I used to always just look at my feet walking on the ground. And now it's like I'm constantly like scanning around like trees and sky and stuff. And it's just your posture in the world too. As the more I just have that visual of cutting those tethers. Yeah. Like you were talking about at the beginning, that lets you kind of be upright and more open. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like another way of looking at it too is like lenses. Like I think, like if you've got really, thick lenses on and then all of a sudden you take them off and you're like, oh my gosh, I can see so much better. I'm not telling people to take your glasses off if you have glasses, but I'm just saying like,
right now while you're driving, do it. Feel your way to your destination.
Send out those vibes.
I get what you're saying. That's beautiful.
So it's just like we take these glasses off and then all of a sudden it's like, you see the world in a different way. Like after I get a session done, I'm just like, whoa, like just look at that. Like I almost feel like I'm high because I'm just like, wow.
And how often do you get sound back?
I get receive sessions, sound bad. I get receive sessions once a month, sometimes twice a month, but I have a mentor that I work with. And so
that's awesome. Yeah. Do you, now that you do this work a lot, do you walk into like concerts and you're like, do you feel sound differently since you've been doing this more?
I do. I notice sound a lot more.
Like in what way?
Like, it's kind of funny. Like I'm really picky with music. Like I'm very picky with music. I can tell like there's songs where I'm just like I just get that like I don't like the background tone of that, or it doesn't resonate, and I'll change it. So it hasn't like ruined music, it's just guided me in a different musical genres, but I do notice it. That's I'm also really sensitive like to energies when I go into a space. And so that's been a lot of learning for me of like how to really set my energy so that I'm not, giving too much out, that I have enough for me, but also just like I don't want to pick up, things that I don't want to pick up.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I'm thinking of this interaction I had with someone recently where we were at a show and they were like, oh my God, it was someone I didn't know, but they were like, this place sucks. Like, oh my God, everybody has a horrible time here. He's just like talking in my ear, like a lot.
Is this where you were performing?
Oh my God. And I'd never been there before. And
you went.
Yes. And it's just like multiple people. What now?
So that sets the vibe.
Oh my God. And I was in this moment of like, I was like in my head or whatever. I was like, okay, this guy, he's living from a different place. This is his experience. I was consciously like, don't accept this energy that he's giving, but it's also so freaking hard. Like part of me just wants to go like, do you hear what you're doing right now? Like I'm up here and you're like your energy is, it's battling and trying to suck me down. Like,
but what's the word? Something over chaos?
Yeah. Coherence over chaos.
Yeah.
You were saying coherent.
Yeah.
That's true.
Rejecting the chaos.
Well, and that's how this like works. Like you start to just like let that light shine. Like, when the body's in flow, it's like I know it's like that, this little light of mine, you know, that
Yeah.
hide it under a bushel. No, like,
No. You're funny. Yeah.
but yeah, so it's like, and then you see like that vibe ripples out and people are attracted to it and good things are attracted to you. And so, yeah, it can be really hard. It can be hard. I could definitely see in the, you know, the world that you inhabit that it could feel a little exhausting sometimes.
Yeah. Because usually
you've talked about that.
Yeah.
Like walking into a green room and
walking right back out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the past I've been like, I've let it suck me in. So I've been more aware, like this past weekend, of where I'm like, oh, I'm having to like choose how I'm going to react to this.
Yeah.
And it's just,
That's gross.
it's really, it is growth. And I wish I could like, I don't know, like tell him to go away or take him with me. You know what I'm saying?
Just bring a tuning fork and then just.
That's what I was, I was going to say, how do you not walk around?
I do.
She does. When we go on vacations, she tunes the house first.
Yeah, I bring my little tuning fork.
I can't wait until you're like 80 doing that. That's so cute.
She posted, I don't know if the video is still up with Tyler.
Oh, yeah.
Her husband, when they went, it was a funny video. He was walking around with her little tuning fork, hitting it. He was making fun of her.
He was
but
like,
it's
who
so
am
funny.
I? And this is like going around. He humors me.
Aww. Have you ever like been in a space and done it and people have been like, what are you doing? Or like,
Well, I mean, I try not to do it. Like,
just randomly.
I don't like go to a concert and just like, bing!
Going out to dinner. Clearing the
I tend to do it. It's like if I'm staying somewhere, I just like set the energy of the space. I do it when I get in my car after, you know, a day at work. Like it's just like, okay, like I'm whatever energy I interacted with today. Like, you know, it's not mine. It's theirs and I'm giving it back.
I love
and
that.
I'm calling my energy back, because whenever we interact with each other, like we have these bubbles of energy.
Right.
And so they're, you know, it's like a Venn diagram. You know, I'm picking up your energy, you're picking up my energy because we're in each other's space.
Right.
And, you know, same with you. And so it's inevitable that your energy is gonna interact and you're gonna pick up things, but it's your choice whether you take that home with you.
Yeah.
And I think like I would love for more people to just be aware of that like you do have
a choice
with that. Like you do have power to be like, nope, I'm gifting that back. Like I say, like I release any energy and emotions that are no longer mine, that are not mine.
That's something so massive too, because I feel like those pings that you feel when you're doing your work, we didn't realize, you know, as a kid that we had a choice. We didn't know what choice was. So that stuff sticks. But now, like with knowledge and presence and of stuff like this, like that, those things don't have to live in our field. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She talks a lot. Like, I mean, we talk about it a lot, but I feel like I started picking it up more when we became friends of like, everything, it's the intention behind everything you do. And like even setting the intention, and this pulled in more psychedelic stuff, but the intention in which you enter into a space. And then when you're in the space, I mean, there's times where a client might be going through something and I can really feel that. And I just mindfully, intentionally just say, what's yours stays over there. I'm not going to take that on, kind of a thing. And then the practices afterwards that's intentionally saying, I'm leaving this, you know, here. This doesn't go with me, or this isn't mine, it doesn't belong to me, or that kind of thing. Or when we cleanse the space, the Palo Santo stuff, right? Just intentionally, I mean, I do it in my office every day, but it's like, you know, only the energy that's needed is allowed. You know, it's kind of what I end up repeating a lot of times. But it's the intention behind everything. And so even when you're talking to someone difficult and it feels like you're intentionally making that decision to be like, that stays over there.
That's yours. I kind of like to think about it like, I don't know, you know, those like helmets that have the little like shield that comes down.
Yeah.
Like I literally will just be like,
yes.
Okay. Like, you know, when someone's coming at you with something and you're like, okay, I'm just putting a shield up. Like I'm listening, I'm here, I'm present. but I'm not absorbing.
Love that.
Because I was absorbing so much. Like I remember working in the hospital and I'd be sitting next to somebody charting and all of a sudden I'd get really anxious. And then I'm looking around. I'm like, I have nothing to be anxious about. And I look and I'm sitting next to, Susan.
Negative Nancy.
Yeah, really having a hard day. And I'm like, oh, that's when it really, like, I noticed that I picked that up and I realized that was a source of a lot of like my anxiety. Like I was picking up other people's stuff a lot and not knowing how to deal with it. And so, it's and grounding can be really helpful. So like in the sessions, I do a lot of deep breath, deep grounding. I'm grounding because that energy that I'm feeling at the fork, it's going through my system. Like it's going through me, but it's going down and out.
Yeah.
Like I'm not holding on to it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How do people listening, what are your suggestions for doing kind of like your kind of work for themselves at home? Like I know, Melanie, you talked about those like sometimes I'll feel a way and I'll be like, binaural sounds for sadness on Spotify and I'll just let those play.
Yeah.
Like, do you trust those? And
well, I think
she has music on Insight Timer.
I do.
I love Insight Timer.
I am on Insight Timer.
Get the
I
fuck
listen to her when I take an Epsom salt bath.
I have some sound baths.
I feel like I'm meeting a celebrity, dude.
You have no idea how much this means to Alison. I love it.
I love Insight Timer.
Oh, I love. I listen. I don't listen to myself on there all the time, but I have listened to some of the sound baths. But yeah, I mean, I recorded them a while ago. I haven't put new content on there in a while.
New ones.
You just got a new follower, dude. Put some new ones on there. Oh my god, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have music.
I'm on Insight Timer. I don't have like albums or anything, but I do.
Mention your class.
Oh, my class. That's right. Oh, well, we were talking about like I call it energetic hygiene.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to. I was like, that's a good intro into
my class. Thank you for the reminder. So I'm doing a class, and it's geared towards therapists, whether that's talk therapists, massage therapists, anybody that's doing healing work with another human. And it goes into, it's at the end of this month on March 29th. It's an online webinar, and it is going to go into different ways to set your energy, different practices that you can use. We're going to talk a lot about intention, talk about some of the things that we mentioned here as well. And then also you'll get a tune-up. So a little group tune-up, and then you'll get a recording, like a 10-minute recording that really tunes into resilience, because that's what this is all about, is just being resilient, especially if you're in the talk therapy world or just therapy world in general. You're picking up a lot of people's stuff and you might not realize it. So we talk about ways to recognize that. We talk about energy. I
think that's good for I'm glad you are. It sounds awesome. I think that's good for anyone though, because we're all dealing with people.
Yeah. I mean, anybody can really take it. And
Stay tuned. She'll have another one coming.
Stay tuned.
That wasn't on purpose.
Wait, how do people find that?
It's on my website and then also on my Instagram. My Instagram handle is at goodvibrations_holistic therapy. And my website is goodvibrationsholistictherapy.com. And you can find out more information about me on there as well. And I also do monthly sound baths at Trauma Therapy of Nashville. And I also do a monthly group biofield tuning session.
Amazing.
In Old Hickory at Southern Crystal Company. So I do those two kind of group events once a month. So if you're interested in trying it, that's a beautiful kind of way to just sort of dip your toe into it. So,
yeah, I love that. I want to say that like just with that mini session that I had, I'm fully invested. Fully like loved it so much. It brought me to such a calm, like, introspective, but also just like awareness, but I was very calm in it. Like
very in your body.
Yes. So wonderful. And then I know you said you were gifted a sound bowl. I just want to like encourage people to obviously come to you 1,000% and like, I think there's a little bit of fear, just speaking for myself, like, am I using this right? Am I like,
oh yeah.
But like, I feel like, you know, if someone wanted to get a sound bowl or a tuning fork, is that okay? Well, like, would you encourage that?
Yes, of course.
Because there's no wrong way to use it.
No.
Your body's going to know.
Yeah, and there's YouTube videos for everything nowadays. So, like, I highly recommend it.
Okay, beautiful.
I use it like medicine. If I have cramps, I'm like, ding it, put it on my ovary.
Weighted tuning forks are
headaches.
amazing.
Okay. That's what I had earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's different, like, if I could suggest, like, probably like a mid-range one for people, it'd be like an ohm weighted tuning fork. It's OHM, like ohm. I think it's like 136 point something or 128 hertz. That one's a really nice mid-range one. If you want like really good quality ones, biofieldtuning.com has the best tuning forks I've ever worked with.
What makes them better? The material?
The material, they are meant to be used over and over again. So if you like go and buy tuning forks off of Amazon, they're not going to have that super coherent, strong sound. It's just the materials they're made out of. They're probably coming, you know, from overseas. And so, these are just, they're vetted. They last forever. Cause I was going through tuning forks a lot.
How'd you know it was like broken?
Oh, or you'll hit it and it'll be like, boom.
Yeah.
It won't be like, ping. It's really fun on these mics.
It is fun. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to do more work with you.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful to know you. What'd you say?
I said I'm excited to work with you. And thank you for sharing space with me earlier. That
oh my
really
gosh.
Cool.
Same. It was so interesting too, because there were so many distractions, but I felt so in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dogs were barking. People were coming over, but I was just like, nah, dude, I'm on this ride. They can come or they can go. Whatever.
Sorry about that.
No, it was interesting to be so in it with things. I mean, that's meditation, right?
Yeah.
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 You dropped right in.
Definitely.
You did.
Yeah. I wanted it. That fork hit my chest and I was like,
and I'm gone.
Yeah. Bye. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And I want to have you back.
This is exciting for me because you do cool stuff.
Yeah, Melanie always raves about you.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you all so much. This is awesome.
And just one more time, your website and your Instagram.
Yes. So Instagram is goodvibrations_holistic therapy. And then my website is www.goodvibrationsholistictherapy.com.
Beautiful. Thank you, Alison, you angel. Thank you for listening to I'm Fine, It's Fine podcast. My name is Amber Autry. I'm a comedian based here in Nashville and internationally touring. You can find me on all platforms at Amber Autry Comedy.
And I am Melanie Reese. I'm a trauma therapist here in Nashville. You can find me across all platforms at Trauma Therapy Nashville.
We really appreciate you listening so much. And if you want to give a little extra for free, make sure you're liking, subscribing, rating, reviewing, sharing with your friends, talking about it to literally everyone you see, because it helps so much. And we're so grateful for the extra effort.
And if you like what you're hearing and you want some bonus material, that includes interviews with other practitioners and all the juicy stuff that Amber and I talk about that doesn't go into the normal podcast. We'd love to have you subscribe. You can find the link in our bio, and $5 a month, you can do it.
Thank you.
Thanks.